Okay, in this video, we're going to learn how to make headers to span our openings, our window openings and our door openings. And we're going to do this in preparation for making our window and door components that we'll put into these walls. Whenever you have an opening in a wall, especially a bearing wall, an exterior bearing wall, you need to have a header. A header is just a large framing member that's designed to carry a load, transmit those loads, carry a load over an opening and transmit those loads to bearing points on either side. So normally headers are specified, they're spec'd out by engineers or architects. You can look in the International Residential Code and find specs for headers, how big they have to be, where they have to have one piece of 2x8 or two pieces of 2x8 or three pieces or whatever. And then you determine how you're going to build your header. In this house, we don't have any real big openings. We have a 6-foot window, which is fairly substantial. But we also have 2x6 walls that we're framing with. The width of these walls is 5.5 inches. But we want to have a header that fits the openings that we're going to use and that's 5.5 inches wide so that it is the same size as the wall width. Headers don't have to be the same size, but it makes it nice and convenient for framing. So that's what we're going to do. First, we're going to determine how thick or how deep our header needs to be. We're going to look at the plans and we're going to look down in the door schedule. This is going to be our best way to determine this. We look down in the door schedule. We'll look at how tall a door opening needs to be. Okay, the door openings or rough openings are going to be 83 inches. Now that's 83 inches from the floor to the underside of the header. So it's that clear opening that we need to slide the pre-hung door into. So let's go back to SketchUp and let's do a guideline from the top of the floor up. Make sure it's a blue line. There we go. And we're going to go up 83 inches. Okay. That's 83 inches. That's where the horizontal 2x6 is going to be in the doorway opening. And then the header will sit above that. So if we take a measurement of from the bottom of the top plate down to the top of the header, we'll find it's 11 1/8 inches. Now we're going to subtract 1.5 inches because we're going to put that 2x6 underneath that header. So if we subtract 1.5 inches from that, we get 9 5/8 inches. So that's how deep the header needs to be, 9 5/8 inches. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of the dimension, and I'll even get rid of the guideline. Well, I'll leave the guideline there for now. It's okay. So 9 5/8 inches is going to be our header height. Now, if we're going to make a header that's 9 5/8 inches, we're going to have to cut it out of a 2x12 and rip it down to 9 5/8. But here in SketchUp, all we have to do is to make a rectangle. So I'm going to draw another rectangle. Okay, and this time I'm going to make it 1.5 inches wide. And then for length, I'm going to say it's 5'3" inches. 5'3" inches long. And I'm doing that because that's the size of header I need for this particular opening. Okay, and then as we determined earlier, it's going to be 9 5/8 inches tall. So I'm going to raise it up, and I'm going to raise it up 9 space 5/8. It'll be 9 5/8 inches tall. Now that's a piece of 2x material, a piece of 2x12 that's been ripped down. And so I'm going to move this stuff out of my way real quick here. There we go. And I'm going to highlight this material. I'm going to right click on it and make it a group. I'm going to right click and go to entity information, and I'm going to tag it as part of exterior walls. Now I did the same thing to my studs after the last video. So be sure to tag them as exterior wall so that they appear and disappear when you turn that switch on. Then I'm going to go to my paint bucket and paint it so it looks like a piece of wood. Okay, there I have my 2x. Now, I need to make a header that's 5.5 inches wide. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it, another one over here, and then I'm going to paste another one over here. Okay, so I've got 3 pieces of 2x material. That's 4.5 inches. Now, if I add another one, it's going to be 6 inches, and I don't want it to be 6 inches. That's too wide. I just need to add another inch. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to add a piece of plywood in between here, a 1/2 inch plywood. So I'm going to draw another rectangle, and I'm going to say that it's a 1/2 inch by 5'3" inches. Okay, so it's the same length as the rest of those. Now I'm going to hit my push-pull tool, and I'm going to pull the face of that up 9 space 5/8 for 9 5/8 inches. So it's the same height as the rest of these. I'm going to make it a piece of OSB. And so I will, let me get rid of these things here. I will draw a square around it and call it a group. I'll make it a group. I'm going to go to the entity information, and I'm going to tag it as exterior walls. And then I'm going to paint it. I'm going to paint it a different color because I'm going to make it look kind of like OSB. And so I painted the OSB color. So it kind of looks like the wafer board, right? And now I have my plywood. I need 2 of those, so I'm going to copy it, right click, paste, and I'm going to put another one out there. Now all I need to do is create this header by putting all these pieces together. So I'm going to move this plywood, and I'm going to bring it over and set it next to this piece of 2x12 that I've ripped down to 9 5/8 inches. I'm trying to get it to snap to the corner. It doesn't seem to want to do that. I'm going to click on the corner, snap to the corner. There we go. No, still didn't do it. Okay, let me try again. Sometimes it doesn't like to snap. Sometimes it does. There, I got it snapped right to that corner. Now I'm going to move this one, and I'm going to snap that corner to this corner. There we go. That one went much easier. I'm going to move this one, and I'm going to snap that corner to this corner. So we're just building a built-up beam. Now, if you did this in real life, you would add each of these layers, then you'd nail them, add the next layer, nail it, add the next layer, nail it, and then finally you'd add the last layer and nail that to the outside, and you've made yourself a built-up beam. Okay, there it is. We've got a nice header that's 5.5 inches wide, and it's 5'3" long because our first header is going to be 5'3". So what I'm going to do now is draw a box around this, right click, and call the whole thing a group. That way I can move it as a unit. And the first thing I'm going to do is turn it so that it runs this direction, because that's the direction our first header is going to be. So that's how to make a header for this house. It's 9 5/8 inches tall. It's 5.5 inches wide, and it's all ready to go to build our first window component.